In general, I think that deep frying at home is a great cooking technique to learn, at least for me. My situation may be different, but I reckon that it's fairly common to most home kitchens. I don't use any special equipment or have an industrial grade kitchen. In fact, with the proper training and knowledge, I think that deep frying is one of the easier methods to making delicious foods at home. And this is coming from someone who just maybe a year or two ago, before learning how to set up and fry food correctly, probably would have agreed with Adam Ragusea. So obviously this video is in response to Adam's video that deep frying at home is a bad idea. This video is not sponsored by NordVPN, nor is it meant to attack Adam personally. He is completely entitled to have his own opinions, and I actually do dig a lot of the stuff I've seen on his channel. But the fact that his message of that video is kind of underlined to say, don't try this cooking technique at home, is something that I'm just fundamentally against. You see, I've showcased deep frying on the channel several times before, and when I share them, I want you to go out and try them. I want you to make the double down sandwich from KFC. I want you to make chicken nuggets that use booze in the batter and drive McDonald's nuggets to shame. I want you to make gorgeously crispy French fries for your friends. In fact, after learning about deep frying and how to set it up, how to make it safe, how to make it not wasteful at all really, and no, it doesn't smell either, I want you to go out and try it. And then once you do try it, come back and say, hey, deep frying is for me, or maybe it's still not for you, and that's perfectly okay. But don't let two guys like me or Adam tell you what's right and wrong for your home kitchen. You decide for yourself. For this video, I'll present Adam's perspective on a number of topics like what do you frying in small batches, maintaining the temperature, and the smell of the oil. Then I'll provide my perspective because I found a lot of his reasons to be generalized and exaggerated. For example, he frequently uses terms like time-consuming or messy, or that the oil smells, without actually addressing considerations to how to remedy those or exactly how much time is being wasted. And then at the end of the video, he posits that pan-fried chicken is a perfectly fine substitute to deep frying. However, I can see the exact same issues arising because of how he's actually going about the pan frying. From my perspectives, I'll give you as much specific and actionable advice as possible to make your next deep frying adventure a breeze. And also, a lot of this information is from the Food Lab by Kenji Lopez, so I'll link that down below. Would highly recommend checking it out if you want to learn a lot more about home cooking. But with that being said, let's hop into the first part of the video.
First dilemma, what do you fry in? But even in this huge pot, the most oil I can safely fry in is 2 or 3 quarts. You have to leave space for the displacement of the food and enough headroom at the top for things to be able to slosh around without spilling over the sides.
So what do I think is the best pot to fry in for a home cook? Well, it's a wok, and it honestly solves probably about 95% of the issues that Adam mentions in this video. Due to the sloped nature of a wok, you actually use less oil than a large Dutch oven, and you get the same amount of surface area on top for your fried goodies to enjoy their own space. Additionally, the wideness of a wok will catch plenty of oil splatter that normally ends up on the countertops, which if not cleaned up right away, starts to smell up the kitchen. This is why using a wok for deep frying is probably my #1 tip for deep frying at home.
If you want to fry dainty, long, thin fries, you gotta fry them in tiny little batches. Otherwise, you'd bash them apart while you stirred them around, or they'd stick to the bottom of the pan, or they'd stick to each other.
So I agree that you do need to fry in small batches, but unless you are a fast food chain like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A who needs to churn out orders and orders of fries and chicken nuggets, I mean, smaller restaurants are going to be frying in small batches too. For example, in the restaurant clip that Adam showed, I mean, that fry basket had a handful of onion rings dropped into it for a single serving, which is how a lot of restaurants are probably gonna do their servings. And this is me dropping a batch of fries into the wok. I mean, that's enough fries for at least 2 people, I would say, or maybe one hungry one. And for the fry recipe that I use, the fries are in the oil for 50 seconds during the first fry, and then 3.5 minutes for the second fry. So each extra batch requires only an extra 4 minutes and 20 seconds, which doesn't seem like too much to me. And here's what Adam himself thinks about saving 4 minutes.
They've saved a whopping 4 minutes on their drive. Wow! Whatever will you do with all of your spare time?
But you gotta overshoot the mark when you're heating it up, because look what happens when you put this much cold mass into such a small volume of hot oil. The temperature plummets.
There's no denying that the food is going to drop the temperature of the oil more in a small volume of oil compared to a much larger one, but we can easily work around this. You see, we can reduce the effect by frying in small batches and keeping that oil moving so no cold pockets are present. Additionally, since that we know the oil temperature is going to drop, people like Adam and I who are sharing recipes on how to cook, we should help people account for it. For example, in Kenji Lopez's food lab, he says, hey, start the oil at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's likely going to drop around 360 degrees. So I know what to expect when I try that fry recipe, and then I can do the same when I share it with all of you.
Hey, let's think for a second about how insanely dangerous this bubbling cauldron of death is.
So how exactly do we keep deep frying safe and manageable for the home cook? First up, we're using the wide and high sides of a wok and only filling the oil up about a third to a halfway with oil. This is going to catch plenty of oil splatter when we drop our food in. Also, we monitor the temperature. At crazy high temperatures, food will splatter all over, but don't let it get to that stage. Always use a thermometer. Set up your workstation, know exactly the movements you are going to use. For my fries, for example, I move left to right. Raw potatoes go into the oil to blanch, then the blanched ones go to the baking sheet on the right. Lastly, fry in small batches. Less food in the hot oil means less water that is going to be dehydrated and bubbled off, which is where splatters happen. And when doing something like chicken, for example, slowly lower it into the oil and release it at the last second. If that oil is at 350 degrees, like my fried chicken recipe, it's not gonna go batshit crazy and blow up in my face. That's why I was testing it before sharing. These are simple tenets for deep frying at home.
This stage called blanching I did for about 10 minutes. Fries take a long time. Now you might be thinking, man, couldn't you have solved all of your problems here by just frying in way smaller batches? Well, yeah, but fries are only good if you eat them right away. What's the point of perfectly frying a tiny batch of fries if they're just gonna get soggy while they sit there and you fry the rest?
So this complaint is specific to Adam's fry recipe, which takes 10 minutes to blanch a single large batch of potatoes. But the recipe that I use for Kenji just takes 50 seconds per batch at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This means that I could have done 11 batches of fries this size by the time Adam got his single batch done. Also, the blanched fries don't need to be placed on a wire rack, which is just another thing to clean. Lay them on paper towels over a baking sheet. Let the paper towels soak up the oil and do the work for you. Then after the fries do go through the second fry, you remove the oil-soaked paper towel and give the sheet maybe a 15-20 second scrub under hot water. I mean, here's what my kitchen looked like right after the frying. So we just got filming these delicious French fries right here, and as you can see, really not that messy. So that'll just throw right away, the paper towel, then go to a quick rinse. This, I'm gonna let that cool and throw that in a mason jar in probably like 15 minutes. That, just gotta throw it away and do a rinse, gotta put that stuff away. And then if there's any excess oil on my counter, I just do like a quick little wipe away, because not getting rid of oil right away, like that's gonna make that oil linger a little bit. So if you do have some splashes, just clean them up right away. Nothing to worry about. It's really not a big time-consuming process or really messy. I don't know about you, but that doesn't look too messy or time-consuming to me. But again, I'll let you decide.
We also have a giant pot of hot oil sitting on the stove, making the whole house smell like a county fair. Really, the smell is gross and it lingers for days.
This one is simple. Clean oil doesn't stink up the kitchen. It's burnt and unclean oil that stinks up the kitchen. When we fry, there are usually little bits of batter or breading that float to the bottom of the oil where our heat source is. These pieces eventually burn and start smelling up the kitchen. That's why they should be scooped out between batches of fried food or during. With Adam's recipe, for example, the potatoes weren't boiled with vinegar, so pieces fell apart while they were frying and became burnt when they weren't strained. You can see his oil had large burnt chunks after using it. If something is burnt like that in the kitchen, I mean, of course it's going to smell, but that could also happen if you burn food regardless of the cooking method. Now let's compare that to my fry oil. These fries were boiled with vinegar, which prevents pectin breakdown, and even thin French fries like these aren't going to fall apart in the oil. This means that I have perfectly clean oil with no burnt pieces. And for something like chicken nuggets, I take my mesh strainer through to remove the excess batter in between batches. I'm not letting anything get burnt. In fact, when the oil is kept clean without burnt pieces, I love the smell of freshly fried food in peanut oil and lard. If you treat your oil right, it will treat your kitchen smell right. And as another side note, if spatters do happen, clean them up as soon as they happen. Letting that sit on your stove or the counter or the clothes aids in the smell. So just have a towel ready to clean up the messes as they happen, which is really a good habit to get into regardless of what or how you are cooking.
And unless you fry really often, it's gonna get yucky hanging around the kitchen, and I'm sorry, I just throw it out.
This complaint has a simple solution for me. Deep frying oil is not wasteful on its own, it's the user that is wasteful. If kept clean, like I was just saying, frying oil can typically be used 4 to 6 times before it needs to be discarded. Skim it through cheesecloth or a paper towel into a large mason jar and let it sit in a dark place in the pantry. It's not going to smell if the oil is clean. The oil with burnt bits will for sure, but not this one, and it lasts a while too. For example, this oil that I'm straining is from my double down fried chicken video. I used this same oil in my chicken nugget video a month later, and these fried up absolutely perfect. No rancid oil smell at all. In summary, my kitchen smells fine after frying. In fact, 1 hour after finishing filming my French fry video, my buddy was standing in the kitchen and asked what I cooked today. I asked him to guess and he didn't even know that it was something fried. That just goes to show that the key is to keep the oil clean by skimming, don't let anything get burnt, and just clean it up as soon as you are done cooking and eating. Also, as a side note, I do want to say I made these French fries start to finish with a clean kitchen in about 70 minutes. This is less time than it takes for Adam's crispy oven fries, which though they do look delicious, still take the 15 to 20 minutes to boil, then another 90 minutes in the oven. And sure, the deep fried ones have about 15 to 20 minutes more hands-on time, but most of the time is still spent waiting on the boil and the fries to cool, which is just the same as the oven recipe. Also, you can still complete a full meal while deep frying. I made burgers, French fries, a milkshake, and filmed with 2 cameras doing everything by myself and having everything hot and ready to go all at once. That being said, I could see the allure of freeing up the burner with the oven fries. I actually have a couple ideas of how I can improve that recipe to make it more efficient and tastier for my preferences. So if that's something you want to see, let me know down below. For me, as someone who shied away from deep frying in my early cooking years, probably like many of you, it was just really because I didn't know how to do it or do it well. But now that I've actually learned how to do it and set it up, it's honestly one of my favorite cooking techniques. And I would love to do it more, but obviously it's just generally not recommended to eating chicken nuggets or fried chicken sandwiches with 2 pieces of fried chicken on them. So hopefully anyone on the fence about trying out deep fried at home, this gave you a little push in the right direction to give it a go. I've got all those recipes mentioned in this video are all linked down below if you guys want to try them. And again, this isn't an attack on Adam or anything. It's just I disagree with his video. I want people to try as many different cooking techniques as possible in their home kitchen. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Go try some deep frying. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.